Hi, everyone. AR/VR Capstone Demo Day, Spring 2021. This is also sponsored by the UW Reality Lab at the Paul G. Allen School of Computer Science and Engineering. The class went for 10 weeks. It was completely remote. We've been working with two devices, with Magic Leap and with Oculus Quest 2. Huge thank you to Magic Leap and Facebook for providing the devices for us. The big thing that we did this quarter is we, instead of using Unity as we usually do, we decided to switch to WebXR and experiment with it because we wanted to make sure that people can develop easily from their homes, no matter what kind of device they have.
So WebXR gave us a lot of power in that regard because students could really easily start prototyping ideas, just quickly open a URL on their headset and get things working. And so it gave us a lot of leeway to give the students and us as well more freedom to be more creative, to share out ideas much more easily. I think kind of one of the big overlying themes of this quarter for some of these teams was how to make physics networked in VR. And I know everyone kind of had different approaches to that, and you'll see how they had those different approaches in their projects as they present them. But hopefully anyone that's joining us today that actually has a headset will have a chance to, just go click on a link or go put the URL into their headset and try it out with the team right there and kind of see how it all works as they have a chance to talk to the developers.
So what do we have here today? We have two projects that will use networking. So VR Dodgeball, where people can play in VR. We have a game, Who is a Murderer? We have a couple projects on space exploration, one in VR about an Apollo 15 mission, and another one called Event Horizon, where there's all sorts of things happening in a spaceship. And we have three apps that teach you things. So one is an AR app that teaches you how to learn and practice a guitar. Another app is how to improve your basketball throwing. That's an AR app as well. The third one is extremely relaxing, is to build a Zen Garden and do yoga meditation. You can go ahead and go to the breakout rooms where you'll meet the developers and you'll be able to try the app or talk to them, ask questions, and so on.
So for our capstone project, we wanted to create VR Dodgeball just after the pandemic, and we wanted to make something where you could relax and de-stress from your classes and then just play a fun game of dodgeball with your friends. It's definitely meant to be played in the headset.
So you didn't do this in Unity, right? You did this in WebXR?
Yep, this is in WebXR.
That's amazing. Does it have any of the physics and things like that, like Unity does?
There's a physics library for it. That's how the balls, the movement of the balls is determined. We kind of use the physics library for the AFRAME to help us out with the velocities and the bouncing and stuff.
So how does it feel? Does it feel like you're really throwing a ball?
That is something we spent a lot of time doing, actually. But we basically kind of worked with many different versions of how to simulate the throwing to make it as natural as possible. I think it's fairly natural feeling because we try to make it so that the center of mass of the ball lines up with the center of mass of the Oculus controllers. When you're throwing it on VR, you're kind of thinking about throwing the thing that's in your hand, which is the controllers. So we tried to line that up and average the velocities over multiple iterations to get as close to the physics as we possibly could.
It looks really nice. You did a great job.
Thank you.
What we're doing is a multiplayer detective game where each player has its own script and has their own rooms. During the examination phase, players can look around each room and look for hints and clues.
And they would share what they found to the other players during the discussion phase. So the murderer wants to hide their identity while the others want to reveal who is the true murderer.
So for me, the reason I like this project is this project shifts the idea of traditional board game by taking advantage of VR. People usually play it by using cards, or in the best case, they can go to some specific location, but the cost is really high. So by taking advantage of VR, We minimize the cost of this game while also providing an immersive experience.
So our group works on Apollo 15 VR. It's an application that allows the user to be an astronaut on the Apollo 15 mission. This is the moon landing site where the Apollo 15 astronauts had landed. And you can see like their lunar landing module.
So how did you guys incorporate this moon terrain that we see? Is this real?
Yes, it's the terrain from the NASA website. This map right here, it's the same model in a smaller scale.
You're on what's closest to the moon as you can kind of get without being an astronaut. And so it's cool to be in that environment and see that.
I'm a big space fan. I want to go to the moon.
I think everyone in our team wanted to as well, so that's why we chose the project.
So here's a little snippet of how the lunar roving vehicle will look. But basically, you can drive around this vehicle that astronauts also drove, and it'll guide you to our rock sample locations, which are pretty accurate in their location. With these different missions, we allow the user to kind of be an astronaut and also learn about and discover all of the amazing things that the astronauts discovered during Apollo 15.
Rover kind of adds that fun element, and you can explore more and like kind of go beyond what the missions offered.
Event Horizon is a 2-player co-op puzzle game, and the setting is a abandoned space station, or not so abandoned, with the only 2 inhabitants being a human and a robot. In the very beginning of the game, the 2 players start in separate rooms where they can't see each other, and they have to communicate different things about their environment to help the other person solve a certain aspect of the puzzle in their room.
So here we have our human character. They're in a room, they have hands, and the robot telekinesis kind of magnet powered that can lift boxes up. And there's no way to beat the game with just one player. So that was kind of our idea, is that you have to work together.
So even though like the robot and humans start out in different rooms, they kind of like work together to solve the puzzle.
Essentially, the first puzzle is to determine the correct wiring. Once correctly wired, the door that separates the 2 players will open and they'll see each other for the first time.
So after they solve this puzzle, they'll move on to the next room where there'll be new puzzles.
There we go.
I have a question. Do you think any of you will be programming for VR in the future?
That's a good question. I think it's really interesting. I had a lot of fun doing this project. I would definitely be interested in working on VR projects a lot more. I feel like there's still a lot to learn though, so.
It is very easy to put a project together with AFRAME, because it's all HTML based. To create like a basic scene, you only need I don't know, like 7 lines. You need to add to it to get anything like this, but it's simple to start off.
It's pretty fun. It feels more like on the engineering side rather than like traditional just like programming, because instead of like worrying too much about like data structures and algorithms, you're more worried about user interactions and like basically event-driven processes.
One thing I really liked was like how simple it was to get started. You put on a headset and it feels like you're in a different world and everything. So I really enjoyed that part.
You guys could start your own little gaming company.
So this is our app essentially. So the idea is you can just pick up a guitar and start playing any song without needing to like practice it beforehand.
So like I've been learning guitar, and it's kind of hard to keep like looking at tabs on the computer screen, then looking at your guitar, then looking back at the note sheets. So this kind of solves that problem. It shows you the note sheets over your guitar.
Oh, that looks awesome through the lens.
And for someone maybe a little bit more well-practiced at guitar, you could have lyrics and the charts like Kurt is showing right here.
Yeah, for me, it's just working with the Magic Leap. I'm a massive AR VR fan, so it's really cool to work with like the top of the line tech.
Yeah, especially it feels like you're working in the future, especially when you're working with augmented reality stuff. Well, this seems pretty cool. So I think that was definitely a highlight for me as well.
Introducing BallARS, a WebXR application built with the Magic Leap. Position your camera to capture your full body and wait a few seconds for the retargeted model to generate. After a few seconds, you'll see LeBron James mimicking your movements.
From the screen sharing, we can't see the box that will like kind of tell you like if you're shooting too far to the left, too far to the right, if you should shoot harder or softer. So these are also helpful feedback for the users. I actually really like the confetti and the arrow. So if you don't have like a back garden or a driveway or a backyard, then this would be like a good addition.
Speaking for myself, when during quarantine, I always want to go play basketball. It's one of the motivations why I want to develop such an AR game, so like that people can shoot basketball inside their home.
Our project is Zen, and we want to make a virtual Zen Garden for people to escape to, because we were thinking, given the times, the pandemic, we're all stuck inside, and it's nice to get out and see some green space. So we're thinking maybe we could bring that into the virtual world. And I think as students, we're all used to living in pretty small places, so having the idea of getting to be in a space bigger than us was something we found pretty compelling. So we have various things you can place to customize your garden, such as plants, trees, tree stumps, rocks, cool stuff like that. We kind of built it ourselves and found it pretty relaxing to use over the quarter as well.
That's so fun.
Also, we have options to like customize your garden a little bit more. We have options like to change the music, options for lighting as well. So you can either have day mode or night mode.
So we have several narrated yoga routines. We also have our animated yoga instructor. So with both of those, they can walk you through the poses, and this is a pretty nice exercise actually. Yeah, definitely learned a lot as the quarter went on, just figuring out stuff.
You did a great job. It's really nice.
It was a lot of work, but I think it was worth it in the end.